Hi, everybody. I think we are live. We're about 7 minutes early. If you're watching this film on repeat after the event, then you will need to make your way to about 7 minutes into the film before the live starts properly. And I will put the exact time that the live starts properly into the description of the film, so you can make your way through this first 7 minutes while we all get ready. Okay, I'm going to get myself sorted now. So you should, I hope, be able to see the screen. Okay, is there anybody there? I think we've only got 5 of us in the room at the minute. We'll be starting in a couple of minutes. Hi, who's that? Little Wrongfoot. Hi, welcome. I hope you downloaded the paper okay. And I hope you can hear me okay. Brilliant. It's always very weird, this YouTube live business, because you can't speak back to me. So hoping you got the paper, and we'll be starting in a couple of minutes. We'll give some other people a chance to arrive. That's right. You don't have to finish the paper. I'll work my way through it, and you can keep an eye on me and mark the questions as you go while you carry on with it. That's not a problem. Hi, whoever that is. I hope you've got the paper. I hope you're ready to go. We've got 7 of us at the minute. I'll probably give it a couple of minutes and see if we can raise a bigger crowd. With any luck, you've downloaded the paper and printed it out, and perhaps tackled some of the questions already too. Right, hit like for me if you're sitting your paper tomorrow. You're a loyal commentator, Jada, a loyal commenter. Thank you very much. It's good to have you with us. Right, could you hit like for me if you are ready to go, if you've got your calculator to hand and you have got the paper ready to go. All right, 12:20 tomorrow is Jaden's paper. It's only a 1H tomorrow, no 1H. You don't have to print it out if you don't want to, okay? I'm just going to work my way through it pretty quickly. So you can just keep an eye on me on the screen if you want to, or you can have the paper on your phone screen and just work on paper next to it. It's up to you. Okay, I'm glad we're ready, but I'm going to wait a couple of minutes because we've only got 8 of us at the minute. So I'm going to give it 2 or 3 more minutes. Now I'm interested to know in UAE, you'll find out tomorrow. I have a feeling that there won't be a regional paper. There'll just be, everyone will be doing 1H, because I think they've done away with the regional papers and they've just made sure that they all overlap. So we'll see what happens. I'm kind of hoping that I'm right, because then once you've all done the first paper, I can come up with the predictions for paper 2, and they'll be the same predictions for everybody, wherever you are in the world. Yep, no, you're right. They haven't done it previously, but that's what they've said on the website. They've said that in November, in the November sitting, there won't be regional papers. So I reckon that's what's going to happen. Right. We've got 10 of us now. I'm going to give it 3 more minutes and wait till 6:35. If you've got any friends who are sitting their exam tomorrow, send them a quick message. See if you can get them here in the next 3 minutes. Surely you guys have got some friends who are sitting their exams tomorrow who want to join us for an hour or 2 to go be ready for tomorrow. We're up to 12. Right. 2 more minutes and we'll make a start. Oh, we're down to 11. It's going well. Yeah, they're not asleep in the UK yet, but perhaps I should have done this on a weekend and I could have done it earlier on in the day. Your brother's already done his this year, this November? Or do you mean he's already done it in June or last year? Oh, fine. What did he get? What did he get? And is he doing A-level? Oh, good for him. That's no problem. I'm very happy to do that. You've got 2 more minutes. Oh, no, I wonder why that is. Perhaps that's because of the timetable on the, so that they all overlap worldwide. Where are you? UAE. So if you're UAE, then you're about 4 hours ahead. So that would make sense. They won't want you doing it at 9 o'clock in the morning because it'll be 5 o'clock in the morning here. Okay. Right. I think we should make a start. So I have got the paper here on the screen, And I hope you've got the paper in front of you. Now, the problem is that I need to go relatively quickly, otherwise we just won't get through everything that we need to get through. I'll try every couple of questions to have a look at the comments to see if anyone's got a question that they've written up there. Okay. Ah, there you are. I recognize you now with the go comment. Okay, now, let me just stick something under there. Right. Okay. So, here we go with question 1. Now, this is a bounds question. This is quite a straightforward bounds question, and we need to work out the upper bound for the value of t. Now, the minute you see it's a bounds question, just forget about everything else. Just work out your upper and your lower bound for each of the variables. So p is going to have an upper and a lower bound, and r is going to have an upper and a lower bound. Okay, 0.51, so 0.515 and 0.505, and r similarly will be the upper bound 6.35 and 6.25. Now, I tend to have a look and see what it's asking me for. It wants the upper bound for t. So write down the formula for t and have a think. If I want t as high as possible, I want the upper bound for p and the lower bound for r. So that's going to be the highest possible p divided by the lowest possible r, which gives me an answer of 0.0824. Okay, right. I'm moving on. I hope you're happy with that, because this is a harder question, but just on bounds still. Now, this is a question 15 on a previous paper. Okay. Again, you see it's a question on bounds, so don't waste any time on doing anything else. To start with, just work out the upper and the lower bound for each. Okay, I've got a small disaster here. I'm having to restart OneNote. I'm back, I think. Okay, brilliant. Right, so V is 9.6, correct to 1 decimal place. So that's 9.65 and 9.55. U is 3.8, correct to 1 decimal place. 3.85, 3.75. And T is 1.84, correct to 2 decimal places. 1.845 and 1.835. Now, you see I'm doing it quite quickly. When you're doing your exam, clearly you don't have to do it as quickly, but you can do it just as automatically, okay? Don't spend ages. You know how to do a bounds question. You know what you've got to do first. Just crack on and do it. Now we're doing the upper bound for A. So here's my formula for A, V minus U over T. Now stop to think. If I want the upper bound of A, I'm going to want the highest V and the lowest U, so the numerator is as high as possible, and I'm going to want the lowest possible T. Okay, and then I simply substitute in the numbers according to what I've specified here. All right, now if you do that, you get the answer 3.215 something, 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 so it's 3.22 to 2 decimal places. Okay, I'm moving on. That's question 1 and 2, and those are the bounds questions. Nobody's written anything in the comments, so we're doing okay. Question 3, find the highest common factor. Now, in this question, it does not say that you have to show how you work these out in prime factors, so don't bother. Just use the fact button on your calculator, and then you can simply write down that 200 is 2 to the power of 3 times 5 squared, and that 420 is 2 squared times 3 times 5 times 7. Now, the highest common factor means that you're going to want the lowest power of each one. Okay, so the lowest power of each one, so I'm going to have 2 squared times 5. That's my highest common factor. And in this case, the lowest common multiple of A, B, and C. So I've got A, B, and C. Now I would write them out so that you have your 2's in one column, your 3's in another, your 5's in another, and your 7's in another. So when I write out B, I'm going to write it out like this. And when I write out C, I'm going to write it out like this. Because when you're doing the lowest common multiple, you want the highest power of each of the factors. So 2 cubed times 3 squared times 5 squared times 7 squared times 11. And because I've written it out in columns, I can easily see which is the highest powers. Okay, moving on. Surds. Now there's a slightly harder topic for you. Right. Show that root 45 plus root 20 equals 5 root 5. Well, root 45 is 9 fives, and root 20 is the root of 4 fives. So that is 3 root 5 plus 2 root 5, which is indeed 5 root 5. Okay, I'm moving on. Right, I've got to rationalize the denominator here. 2 over root 3 minus 1. If I'm going to rationalize the denominator, I'm going to multiply top and bottom by root 3 plus 1. Root 3 plus 1, which is going to give me 2 times root 3 plus 1 on the top and 2 on the bottom, which gives me an answer of root 3 plus 1. Okay. I'll leave that on the top half of the screen there for you. Meanwhile, I've got to complete the square on this. So I'm going to have x, and then I'm going to halve the coefficient on the x. So 6 times root 2 becomes 3 times root 2 squared, minus 3 root 2 squared, copy down the minus 1. X plus 3 root 2 squared minus now 3 root 2 squared is 9 times 2, 18 minus 1. So I get x plus 3 root 2 squared minus 19. Okay, that is that question. Now that question was a question 21 on a previous paper, so they obviously consider it to be quite tricky. Okay, I'm going to move on now. Nobody's asking me to slow down. Okay, question 5. The area of a rectangle is 18 square centimeters. The length is that. Without using a calculator, find the width. Well, the width will be the area divided by the length. So that's what I'm working with. And I've got to give my answer in that form, so I have to rationalize the denominator. So this is just a question of rationalizing the denominator in disguise. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by root 7 minus 1, which gives me 18 times root 7 minus 1 on the top and 6 on the bottom. Simplify that, 3 lots of root 7 minus 1, which is 3 root 7 minus 3. Okay, and there it is in the form a plus root b plus c. We don't have without using a calculator questions. I've never seen one. Is it just you have to show you're working? Yes, you just have to show you're working. Okay, what they want you to do is they want you to do what I've done. They don't want you just to write this bit in a calculator and tell them the answer. Okay? Question 5. Joshua buys a car. For that much, he sells the car to Nina. Nina pays a deposit of 1,500 and 36,450. So Nina pays that much in total. Work out Joshua's percentage profit. Well, Joshua's profit is the amount Nina paid minus the amount he paid. So his profit is 5,200. Percentage profit, profit over the original multiplied by 100. Okay, if you did that, you should get the answer 41.6%. Okay, nobody's asking me anything. Quite straightforward question, that one. It was a question 3, so I hope you're happy with number 6. More percentages. Percentages come up on every paper, okay? They come up on average more than twice in each session. Right, the value of the painting increases by 4%, so we're going to multiply by 0.4, and we're going to increase it for 3 years. So that is what you have to do. If you get a question like this, it's not going to take you very long. Okay, give your answer correct to the nearest dollar. The answer there is 765. Didn't really get the surds one, right. Which one? Question 5 or question 4? Tell me question 5 or question 4. I'll tell you what, I'll carry on and then you can tell me in a minute. Okay. Right, question 8. Right, we're investing 2,000 for 3 years, 4% compound. 2,000 times 1.04 to the power of 3. Put your answer to the nearest dollar. Can I redo question 7? Yes, I can. Am I going too quick? Right, question 7. Here we go. Let me rub this out. Right, in question 7, you're increasing something by 4%. So your multiplier to increase by 4% is 1.04. So we've got the painting, which is worth that. First year, multiply by that. Second year, multiply by that again. Third year, multiply by that again. So the shortcut is to do the original value multiplied by the multiplier to the power of the number of years. All right? Okay. And you're right, you could just go back on the recording. I don't know if you can you go back on the recording live while it's happening? I don't know. But anyway, that's how to do that one. Right, I'm back here now, and this is a similar one to the one I've just done. 2,000 multiplied by 0.04 to the power of 3. Put your answers to the nearest dollar. I think most people probably make their mistakes by not reading that bit when they're doing these questions. Okay. This next one is a reverse percentage change. You start with T dollars. It decreases by 9%, so that would be multiplied by 0.91. And at the end of the first year, you have 1365. So to work out the value of T, you start with your 1365 and you go backwards. So 1365 divided by 0.91 to give you your answer of 1,500. Okay, and you can go back on the recording live, so that's a useful thing for anybody who needs to do it. Right, question 9. Crikey, we're in danger of getting through all this in an hour. Okay. Question 9, completing the square. Right, I'm going to pause for a moment because everybody who's going for a top grade should be able to complete the square there. Okay, so everybody who's going for a top grade needs to have attempted that question rather than watching me. So I'm going to be quiet for 2 minutes. Everybody have a go at that question, and if you've done that, then simply move on through the paper. And the link to download the paper is in the description. Okay. So hit like for me when you're ready for me to go through question 9, please. Well, that's 2 of you ready. I don't know if that's the same people hitting like and saying, look, will you just get on with it or not? But you've got the paper, so if you're waiting doing nothing, you can carry on with one of the later questions. Okay. Right, now when you complete the square, you need to start with a single x squared. So I've got my 3x squared minus 6x plus 5. And really, if this comes up tomorrow, then obviously it's a bit late to do lots of practice. But if completing the square doesn't come up tomorrow, you can do lots of practice of this between tomorrow and Friday. So I'm going to take out the 3 because that leaves me with a single x squared. And of course, this is going to change to 2 from 6. Now I'm going to focus on this bit, and I'm going to complete the square on that yellow bit. 3, open a big square bracket. I'm completing the square on x squared minus 2x. So it's going to be x minus 1, because you halve the coefficient on the x, put a squared, and then I'm going to need to minus 1 squared. 1 squared is 1, remember, not 2. Close the square bracket, copy down the plus 5. Now I'm going to multiply out the square bracket. 3 lots of x plus 1 squared minus 3 plus 5. And so now I've got 3 lots of x plus 1 squared plus 2, because minus 3 plus 5 is 2. Okay, so that's question 9 done. And that's a really useful thing to be able to do automatically. Often you get completing the square questions when you are finding inverse functions, for example. Right, question 10. Factorize fully, and then a quadratic equation question. Now I put these in, not because I think it's difficult, but just because every year there is a question like this. Factorize this, you can take out 3c squared. Gives you 6cd squared minus 7. Factorize this, y minus 6, y plus 3. And then very often there's a hence solve, and this bit is the thing you've just factorized. So that's x minus 6, lots of x plus 3 equals 0. Sorry, y not x. So y equals 6 or minus 3. Okay. Why have I changed the bracket to x plus 3? Am I going back up here? Do you mean x plus 2? Do you mean x minus 2x? What do you mean? I haven't changed the bracket to x plus 3. So I'm not sure which question you're asking about there. Oh, x plus 1. Why have I changed it to x plus 1? Well, because if I had this expression here, x squared minus 2x, I don't know, plus something, let's say plus 6. If I was going to complete the square there, then the way to complete the square is to say that it's going to be x minus and then half the coefficient on the x. Okay? All right, because that, if you multiply out x minus 1 squared, then you get 1x from there and 1x from there, so you end up with minus 2x's. So you want half the coefficient of x here. Okay, if that makes sense, then I'm pleased. But if it doesn't, then just remember you halve the coefficient of the x. Okay, question 11 and question 12. Question 11, linear simultaneous equations. Question 12, simultaneous equations when one is quadratic. All right, so everybody needs to be able to do both of those because they always come up. So I'm going to be quiet for a minute and go and get a drink, stop me coughing. I'm going to leave you with question 11 and question 12. Okay, click the link if you haven't got the paper, because then you can download the paper. Right, I'll be back in a second. Okay, question 11. Now, there are lots of different ways of doing simultaneous equations. I always, when they look like this, get the x's the same and then subtract. So I would be multiplying this top equation by 4. Okay, so when I multiply the top equation by 4, just give it a minute. When I multiply the top equation by 4, I get 4x plus 8y equals 60. Write down that bottom equation there. Now, do not mess this bit up. I'm going to subtract the equations because they've both got the same number of x's in them, same sign subtract. I'm going to write a negative sign there because then I'm going to spot the minus a minus on the y's. So I get 8y minus 6y, 14y equals 56. Okay, so please write that down. So now I get y equals 4. And then I'm going to substitute my value of y into the top equation, x plus 2y equals 15, in order to find x. So x plus 8 equals 15, so x equals 7. And then I'm going to substitute my value of y into the second equation and check I get the same answer for x. Okay, I will get the same answer for x. So it would be 4x minus 6y equals 4, 4x minus 24 equals 4, 4x equals 28, so x equals 7. Now, sometimes on the mark schemes, they specify that 1 mark for the check. So do check your answer in the second equation each time. There's no point in losing that mark. Okay. Right, happy with that? Nobody's commenting, so I'm moving on. Now, every year there is a set of simultaneous equations where one of them is quadratic. Okay. Isn't GCSE in May? No, lots of people are sitting it tomorrow. Okay, so this is primarily for people who are sitting their GCSE tomorrow. Okay, there's a November sitting. Right, this sort of question always appears. Now, you are told that x is 3y minus 1, so the trick is to substitute that expression for x into the other equation. So I'm writing down the first equation here, but instead of writing x squared, I'm writing 3y minus 1 squared. Okay, and now I've just got to not mess up my algebra. Okay, all right, just get it right. Now, just do it one step at a time. Don't be ludicrous and try and miss a step, because all that happens is that you make a mistake. Minus 1 times minus 1 is plus 1. Plus 3y squared equals 11. And now I'm going to multiply out the bracket. No, I'm not actually. I'm going to write 2 lots of 9y squared minus 6y plus 1 plus 3y squared. Now, you're probably thinking, why is he being so slow about this and writing down so much? Well, the exam's 2 hours long. You're hardly in a hurry. Okay, and what you don't want to do is to mess it up. Of course, I'm just waiting now for me to make some sort of foolish mistake, having just preached at you about not messing it up. But you take it as slowly as you need to, and I bet if you make a mistake, I bet it'll be because you've done too many things at once. This is a quadratic equation. I'm going to factorize it. I'm going to take out a 3 first. You could just use the formula, of course, but because I looked at this afternoon, I know that this factorizes. But there would be nothing wrong with using the formula. I get y equals 1, or y equals minus 3 over 7. Okay, now, I haven't finished. All I've done is get my 2 values of y. So I need to get each value of y has a corresponding value of x, of course, and I need to find that too. So if y is 1, then remembering x is 3y minus 1, I can find what x would be. It would be 2. And similarly, if y is minus 3/7, then I have a corresponding value of x, which is 3 times minus 3/7 minus 1, which is minus 16/7. So you actually get 2 answers here. One answer is x is 2 and y equals 1. And the second answer is x is minus 16 over 7. And y is minus 3 over 7. Okay, yeah, I know I'm going quick. I'm sorry for that. But I did publish the paper earlier, hoping that everyone would have a chance to have a go at some of the questions. Okay, but I'll leave that on the screen for a moment. Incidentally, you can use the quadratic formula, yes, absolutely. Okay, all right. But what I've done here, and I know I've done it quickly, is I've taken this expression for x and substituted it into the first equation. And the rest of it is just algebra. Okay? All right? So that is what has gone on there. Now, if you want to practice some of these before tomorrow, there is a film on the YouTube channel, but of course it's quite late for some of you. So maybe the thing to do, if you know how to do this, but you want some practice, is hope it doesn't come up tomorrow, and then you can practice some more before Friday. Okay. I'm going to move on, if that's okay. You can always go back and pause me doing that if you want to. Okay, right. This is a straightforward sequences question here, and there's a much more complicated sequences question coming up in number 14. Yeah, I will upload this video. It'll just go on to Zoom under live. Right, the first four terms of the sequence, 38, 31, 24, 17. It's going down by 7 each time, so it's going to be minus 7n plus what to make the first term 38? Answer plus 45. So my answer there is minus 7n plus 45, or you can write 45 minus 7n. Okay. Now, that's a kind of, look, that was a question 4, right? So that's very straightforward. Okay, now this one is a question 20, so this is much less straightforward. Right, I think this is another moment for me to pause to give you a chance to do this. Now, this is level 8, grade 8, grade 9 question here. Okay, you're going to need to know your formula for the sum of an arithmetic series. You get given this in the exam, but I'll put it here for you. Okay, there it is. And you'll also need the formula for the nth term of a sequence, which I think you're given, so I'll give it to you. It's a, the first term, minus n minus 1, sorry, plus n minus 1d. Okay, so you're given those two formulas on the formula sheet, and you're going to need them to solve this question. Do we need to write out the sequence? No, I don't think so. What I would do is I would use this yellow fact and this blue fact, write an equation from the yellow fact using this. Oops, I'll do it in yellow. Write an equation from the blue fact using this, and you'll end up with two equations with A and D in them, and you can solve those simultaneously to find A and D. You don't get the second formula, perhaps you don't, I'm not sure off the top of my head. So I'm wondering how many marks there were for this question. There are 6 marks for this question, okay? So even if you don't get it right, there's lots of chance for part marks. And remember, 10 marks between each grade. So if you get 5 out of 6, that's half a grade. It's well worth having. Now I'm going to slowly start on this. I'm going to use this yellow fact first. It says the sum of the first 80 terms. So that's going to be 80 over 2 multiplied by 2a plus 79d. And the sum of the first 80 terms is equal to 470. Now, I'm going to simplify that before I do anything else. That's 40 times 2a plus 79d equals 470. So that is 80a plus 3160d equals 470. There you are. I've got that equation all looking nice and neat now, okay? So that equation came from the yellow fact. Now, I'm going to write an equation using the second fact, the fact which I've highlighted in blue. I'll do this in red for some bizarre reason. The 75th term is 14.5. So that means that A plus 74 differences is equal to 14.5. Okay, now I've got two equations. I've got what I'll call equation 1 in blue and equation 2 in red. And importantly, I've got 2 marks already. Now, because I've got two equations, I can solve them simultaneously to find A and to find D. Right, in equation 1, I've got 80 A's. So I'm going to multiply equation 2 by 80. So I've got the same number of A's in both equations. Right, so 80 times 74, 5920, D equals 80 times 14.5, 1160. So now I've got two equations. I've got my red equation, 80A plus 5920D equals 1160, and my blue equation, 80A plus 3160D equals 470. And I'm going to subtract the equations to give me an equation with just a D in it. Why did I times by 80? So it gave me the same number of A's in both equations, because then I could subtract the equations and eliminate the A's. I didn't have to do it that way. I could have got an expression for A and substituted it into the other equation. I could have done it by substitution if I wanted to. Divide both sides by 2760 tells me that D is equal to a quarter. Okay, so now I know D, so I can use any of the equations I like to find A. All right, so I'm going to use this equation here. A plus 74D equals 14.5, so that means that A plus 74 times a quarter equals 14.5. So that means that A equals minus 4. So now I've found A and I've found D. All right. Good. I haven't finished the question yet, but I've got A and I've got D. Now let's have a look and see what the question says. The question says, the sum of the first x terms is 171. Work out the value of x. Now, this is a feisty question. So far, I've got 3 out of 6 according to the mark scheme. There are 3 marks for this second bit here. The sum of the first x terms. Well, the sum of the first x terms is going to be x over 2 multiplied by 2a plus x minus 1, because we're dealing with x terms, aren't we? X minus 1 times D. But of course I know A and I know D, so I can put those in. X over 2 times twice A, well that's minus 8, plus x minus 1 times a quarter, and I know that the sum of the first x terms is 171. Okay. So you get a mark for deriving the equation that you can see on the screen there now. And then the last 2 marks are for solving this equation. All right. How did I get minus 8? Well, that's twice A, and A is minus 4. Okay, 2A and A is minus 4. All right. Okay, so here's my equation that I've got to solve. Now, it won't surprise you that I'm going to do one thing at a time, even though you're going to think I'm being really slow. I'm going to start by doubling the left and doubling the right. So I'm going to have x lots of minus 8 plus x minus 1 times 0.25 equals 342. Now, I'm going to keep on driving you mad because I'm just going to multiply out this bracket here. Okay, so that's going to be 0.25x minus 0.25. The thing is, I know I can do this, so there is no way I'm going to get it wrong. Okay, and you must think like that when you're doing your exam. Right, I'm not even going to multiply out the bracket yet. I'm going to tidy this up. Look, because I've got minus 8 and minus a quarter here. So that's minus 8.25 plus 0.25x equals 342. And now I'm going to multiply out this bracket. Finally, minus 8.25x plus 0.25x squared equals 342. Okay, now you can do this in a number of ways now. This is just a quadratic equation. Okay, I'm going to write it as 0.25x squared minus 8.25x minus 342 equals 0. Now, it's entirely up to you what you do now. Personally, I'd multiply it all by 4, so I have a single x squared, and then I'd try and factorize it. You could just use the formula A, B, and C, with A as being a quarter, B being minus 8.25, and C being minus 342. It's up to you entirely. If I multiply everything by 4, then I get x squared minus 33x minus 1368 equals 0. And then I can factorize that. Or use the formula again. Okay, if you do factorize it or use the formula, factorizing gives you this. So you end up with two answers, x equals 57 or minus 24. And of course, if you use the formula, you'll get exactly the same answers. You could have used the formula here, or you could have used the formula there. Just doesn't matter. Now, I've got two answers for x, 57 or minus 24. Well, x is the number of terms of the sequence that adds up to 171. So there's no way that x can be minus 24. So the correct answer is that x is 57. Okay. Now that is quite a drawn out question there. No wonder it was a question 20. Okay, but we had to do quite a lot of different things. How did I get x squared minus 33x? What I did was I took this line here, I took the line that's highlighted in blue, and I multiplied it by 4 because I wanted to deal with a single x squared. Okay, but that's just because I knew I was going to try and factorize it. You could simply have gone straight from the blue highlighted line and used the formula. All right. Okay, I'm going to pause for a minute in case anybody wants to ask anything. If you're bored, then you can go on to question 15 and so on. Okay. Maybe tell me when you're ready for me to go on, or hit like or something, or ask me a question if you're not ready, or type wait in the comment and I'll wait a few minutes. Okay. All right. I'm getting a bit of heart action, so I'm going to move on if you're happy. Okay. Right. Question 15. A curve has that equation. Find the x-coordinates of the 2 points on the curve where the gradient is a third. So the equation of the curve is this. Now, we're talking about gradient here, so I'm going to need the gradient function. So I'm going to differentiate my equation. 12x squared minus 8. And I want the values of x, the x-coordinates, which give me a gradient of a third. So I'm going to solve the equation, the gradient function equals a third. what values of x make this equal to a third? So now I can just solve that equation, really. Okay, I'm going to add 12 to both sides. Sorry, add 8 to both sides, I beg your pardon. And now I'm going to divide both sides by 12. Unfortunately, of course, you can use a calculator. So 8 1/3 divided by 12 on your calculator is just 25 over 36. So x squared is 25 over 36. Now I notice here, and you should have noticed this when you read it, that it asks for the x coordinates of the 2 points on the curve. So that's a reminder that I'm expecting 2 answers. And of course there are 2 answers because there's a positive square root and a negative square root. So those are the 2 x coordinates that make the gradient equal 1/3. Okay, am I moving on? Happy? Right. Okay, I'm moving on. Question now, I've got some circle theorem questions here because circle theorems always seem to cause problems. Right, question 16. ABC are points on a circle. By the way, the minute I see this, I think, oh look, there's an angle at the center and there's an angle on the circumference, an angle on the edge. So I'm instantly thinking about that, okay? I've got to find the angle, size of angle ABC. That's this angle here, right? That's my target. Now, I'll just find any angles I can, really. I know that this is an isosceles triangle, so I can find that top angle. I know that bottom angle is 52. So the top angle is 180 minus twice 52. So the top angle is 76. Well, if that top angle is 76, that's the angle at the center. So the angle on the edge is half of 76, 38. Okay, nobody's asking me to slow down, so I'm moving on. Are you happy? Okay. Number 17. Now this looks a bit more complicated, but I can see an angle at the center, angle at the edge. I can see the right angle between a tangent and a radius, okay? I can see opposite angles in a cyclic quadrilateral. All right, so many different theorems that might hold true for this one. Right, work out the size of angle DCB. Right, where's that? DC, it's this one. Oh, well, look at that. Opposite angles in a cyclic quadrilateral add up to 180. So it must be 140. And my reason would be opposite angles in a cyclic quadrilateral add up to 180. Okay. Right. Next, I suppose I'll label that because it might be useful for the next question. So let's get rid of that. And let's label this one 140. Next. Work out size of angle ADO. Now, ADO is this angle here. Okay, so that's my target. Right. So it's just a question, really, of finding anything that you can. Now, I think we've already agreed that this angle here is 90 because it's the angle between a radius and the tangent. So if that little bit of it's 66, then that bit must be 24. Okay. Do not, therefore, assume that this is 24, because there's nothing to say that that shape is symmetrical, that arrowhead. Okay. Right. What else can I find? Well, if this one's 40, I hope you agree that one will be 80. Right. If that's 80, then all the way around here will be 360 minus 80. So that must be 280. Now, what have I got here? There, 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 and there. It's a quadrilateral, right? And all the angles in the quadrilateral add up to 360. So I can do 360 minus 40 minus 280 minus 24 to tell me that my mystery angle is 60. Okay. I'm pausing for a minute in case anybody wants to ask me anything about that. Okay. Right. Question 18. Find the size of angle RQP. RQP. Well, that's a right angle because angles in a semicircle are a right angle. Find the size of angle PSQ. PSQ, that's this angle. Well, that's 22 because angles in the same segment are equal. So I hope that this is a good reminder of circle theorems for you. Now this one, intersecting chord theorem. Okay, I know the chords are intersecting outside the circle, but who cares? It's still intersecting chord theorem. This is how to do it. Write A, B, C, D in alphabetical order. A, B, C, D. Put an equals in the middle. Now take your P and write it here, 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 and here. Times, and that is a formula which you can use when you're dealing with the intersecting chord theorem, okay? And now you've just got to fill in the numbers and work out the value of x. Here's x. AP is the first thing, and that is 30, times BP is 14, equals CP is 12, times DP, careful, because DP is that whole line there, so DP is x plus 12. So you end up with 30 times 40 equals 12 lots of x plus 12. So 420 equals 12x plus 144, minus 144 from both sides. 12x equals 276, divide by 12, and x equals 23. Okay, take a look at this one. A, B, C, D alphabetically, and then you just write in your P. Now, at the risk of boring you, here's an example in case you get this tomorrow. Here we go, intersecting chords. Now, do not feel you've got to stick to how they label the intersecting chords. If I was doing this question, then I would just relabel it. Call the black one AB, call the blue one CD, and call the point in the middle P. And then you write A, B, C, D equals P, 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 P times. And then you've got your formula and you can fill in what you need to. Okay, there's my intersecting chord theorem method. Question 20. Right. Now, I'm feeling like time is getting on. So rather than working out each answer, well, I will just kind of accelerate through, I think. Question 20. We've got to work out the value of this angle. We're going to use this triangle and tan, but we don't know this bottom length. But we can find this bottom length using tan, and then subtract that from the 22, and then we know what we need to for the right-hand triangle. Okay? So if you were to do that, you will have, for the left-hand triangle, tan 40 equals 8 over y, and hence you find that y is 9.53. Use that to find the length from x to b, which would be 22 minus 9.53. So then you've got this right-angled triangle here, 8 and 12.47, and you're asked to find x, which you do using tan. Okay, I'm moving on, unless anybody slows me down. Question 21. Right, right-angled, 3D shape, presumably a bit of trigonometry or Pythagoras. Let's have a look. We've got to find the volume of this prism, right? So we need to find the area of the end and multiply it by the depth. Well, I wish I could find the depth. The depth is AF. And you can find the depth because you've got a right angle triangle. 53 is the hypotenuse and 28 is the other side. So AF is the square root of 53 squared minus 28 squared. All right, so AF is 45. Nobody's commenting. Oh, didn't understand the previous question. Okay, let me finish this one, and then I'll go back to the previous one, okay? AF is 45. Now, I need to find the area of this triangle at the end, because then I can multiply that by 45. So I need to find the area of this triangle. So what you need to do is you need to use trigonometry to find one of the sides, and then you can use trig to find the other. Sorry, use trig to find one of the sides, and then trigonometry to find the other. Let's find FE here. Sine 30 is going to be FE over 28, and hence FE is 14. And now you can find DE using Pythagoras. Square root of 28, square root of 28 squared minus 14 squared, which gives you 24.2. So now you know everything you need to. 24.2, 14. So the area of the triangle on the end is 24.2 times 14. Divide that by 2, because it's a triangle, times by 45, and you get your answer. You should have got the answer, 7638. Okay? Right, I'm going to go back to the previous question briefly. So, question 20. Right. In this question, we're asked to find x. X is the angle in the right-hand triangle. And the right-hand triangle has a height of 8. And if only I knew this side, then I could find x using tan. Okay? I can find that side because that side, that green side here, is 22. The whole of this, take away this length here. So I'm going to find this red length by using tan on the left-hand triangle. Okay, and I hope you're okay with using with your trig. You just find that length using tan, and then take that off the 22, and then you have the green length here. And once you've got the green length there, which was 12.47, then you can find x using tan, okay? All right, if that's okay, then that's great. If it's not, let's hope trig doesn't come up tomorrow and you've got some time to revise it. Okay, question 22. Right. Now this is quite a feisty vectors question. A question like this seems to come up most years, okay? And with any luck, you have just practiced these so that you can solve them really easily. These are grade 8, grade 9 questions, so don't give yourself a hard time if you find it difficult. Right. You know that this vector here is also A, and you know that this vector here from N to B is 5B, because you're given that information in the question. And you're asked to find, in terms of A and B, the vector A to N. Now, if I go from A to N, I'm going to go like this. From A, down to O, and across to N. So that is a journey of, from A to O is minus 2A, plus a b to take me across to n. So that is an, minus 2a plus b. Okay? Now, use a vector method to find the ratio of AP to PN. Now, if you haven't practiced these questions, I'm afraid you're not going to pick it up how to do them just from this one example. Okay? But if you have practiced these questions, then with any luck, you'll find this useful. We are exploring the vector AP to Pn. So we're going to journey from O to P, we're going to go two different routes. We're going to go from O to M to P. O to M plus M to P. And we're going to go another route as well. I'll do the other route in green. We're going to go from O to N and then up to P. So the green route is going to be O to N plus N to P. Okay. All right, that's no problem. I will certainly have this live will certainly be uploaded, okay? Right, O to M is A, and M to P is a certain fraction. I'm going to call it X, that fraction, of M to B. So that's going to be A plus X times, now M to B is minus A plus 6B. Now I'm going to simplify that. A plus minus XA plus 6XB, which, by the way, is 1 minus XA's plus 6XB's. Okay. I did warn you it wasn't straightforward. Now I'm going to do the green route. So O to N is B plus N to P. Well, N to P is a certain fraction. I'm going to call it Y of NA. So that's going to be B plus Y times NA is minus B plus 2A. So that's B plus minus YB plus 2YA, which is how many B's? 1 minus YB's, and how many A's? 2YA's. Now, that is the tricky bit. And what we have got here is we've got a red route and a green route, and both the red route and the green route are equal to the journey from O to P. O to P equals that, and O to P equals that. So both the red route and the green route are equal. Now, if they're equal, then they'll have the same number of A's in them and the same number of B's. Now, the red route has got X minus 1 A's, and the green route has got 2Y A's. So that means that 1 minus X equals 2Y, because the number of A's in both of those routes must be the same, because both of the routes are the same result. Similarly, the number of B's in the red route must equal the number of B's in the green route. So that means that 6x must equal 1 minus y. And now I've got two equations with x and y in them. So I can solve these simultaneously to find x and find y. Right. Well, there are lots of different ways you can solve these equations. Okay. I'm going to use this equation to give me an expression for y. Y equals 1 minus 6x. So that means that if I use this equation here, 1 minus x equals 2y. Well, 2y is twice this. So 1 minus x will equal 2 minus 12x. So now I can simply solve that equation. Add 12x's to both sides and minus 1 from both sides. X equals an 11th. And now I can use this equation here to tell me what y is. Well, y is 1 minus 6/11ths. So y is 5/11ths. Okay, this question is one I'll leave out. I'm not sure I blame you. Leave it to the end and you might get some part marks. Okay? Now, and we're almost finished, so hang in there. We've got to find the ratio of AP to PN. So here's A, and here's N, and here's P. And we know that Y is 5/11ths. So we know that this bit is 5/11ths of the whole thing. So 5/11ths, 6/11ths. So the ratio of AP to PN is 6 to 5. Now, if you get a question like that and you've done a lot of practice, you'll probably be able to do it because they're always much the same, okay? If you haven't done much practice, perhaps you can pick up a couple of part marks. Okay. Now, I'm going to move on because it's a tricky question, and those of you who want to relive it can watch it by rewinding the recording. Okay. Here is a probability tree question. Probability comes up every year, normally several times across the 2 papers, and there always seems to be a tree question. Here we go. There are 9 cards. Each card has a number or letter on it. Thomas is playing a game. He takes it random. Right, okay, the first card being a number. Well, that's 2 out of the 9 cards. And so being a letter must be 7 out of 9. Now look out. He takes one of the cards and keeps it. So that means that when it comes to drawing a second card, he's only got 8 cards to draw from. So all of those are going to be out of 8. Now, if the first one was a number, then there's only going to be 1 number left. So that's 1 out of 8 and 7 out of 8. If the first one was a letter, there's only going to be 6 letters left. So that's 6 out of 8. And there are still 2 numbers left. So it's 2 out of 8. And if you take your time and fill in those fractions properly, then the question will solve itself from now on. Work out the probability that each of the 2 cards, that's both of them, has a number on it. So that's the probability of ending up here, look, number, 2/9 times 1/8, which is 2 out of 72, 1 out of 36. Remember, you times as you go along. Hi, whoever's just arrived. Right. Next, work out the probability that there'll be 1 card with a number on it and 1 card with a letter. Well, that's this one or this one. So we're going to work out both of those blue blobs by timesing and then add them together. So it's 2/9 times 7/8. That's this one. 2/9 times 7/8 plus, now this one, 7/9 times 2/8. 7/9 times 2/8. And if you want to, you can just put that straight in your calculator. It's actually 28 over 72, which cancels to 7 out of 18. Okay, all right. So that is question 23 done. Okay, 7 marks. That's more than half a grade. All right. Okay, I'm moving on to question 24 and 25, and we're almost done. Thankfully. Right, let's go. 24. Team A and Team B take part in a quiz league. After 11 rounds, Team A has a mean score per round of 17. Hey, immediately, I know that that means that they have a total number of points of 187. And Team B, 9 rounds, mean of 18. So 9 times 18, immediately I know they've got a total of 162. Both teams take part in a further round. Okay, after this round, they both have a mean score of 18.5. Okay, well, let's do Team A first. Team A. If they do another round, then they've done 12 rounds. And if their new mean is 18.5, then their new total must be 222. And similarly, Team B, if they do another round, then they've done 10 rounds now, because they had done 9. And if their new mean is 18.5, then the total of all their rounds must be 185. Now let's read what the question is. In the further round, Team A scored more points than Team B. How many more? Well, Team A did have 187, and now they've got 222. So in that last round, they must have scored 35 points. 222 minus 187. Meanwhile, Team B had 162 total, and now after that next round, they've got a total of 185. So they must have scored 23 marks in that last round. So in the further round, Team A did score more points than Team B. How many more? Well, the difference between 35 and 23. Team A scored 12 more marks. All right, can I move on? Not tonight is the answer to when I'm going to start publishing A-level maths. Right, I've lost the question, just a minute. Okay. Crikey, we've done a lot of maths in the last hour or so. Okay, 25. The table shows information about the frame size of 60 bicycles. 60, underline it when you read the question. Write down the modal class. That's the most common one. It's this one, because there are more in that group than any other. Right, part B. Write down an estimate for the mean frame size. Remember, mid-mad. We're going to find the midpoints of each of these. So 36 and 30, that's 33, isn't it? 36, that's 39. Write down the midpoints, okay? 45, 51, 57. So midpoints, then we're going to multiply, add, and divide. Okay, that's what mid-mad means. Find the midpoints, then multiply, then add, and divide. So 33 times 4, for example. 33 times 4 is 132. 39 times 14, and so on, 546, right? You get the total, okay, whatever it is, and you divide it by 60, because there are 60 bicycles in the shop. Now, all I've done, I'm afraid, is written down the answer as 45.7, so that means the total must have been 2742, okay? But I'm not going to work it all out now because it's getting late and you don't need to watch me doing a whole load of multiplying, adding, and dividing. Okay? But I hope you're okay with mid-mad, because that will be useful tomorrow or on Friday. Here is a list giving number of runs scored last week by the 11 members of a cricket team. Cricket team A. The interquartile range of the number of runs scored last week by the 11 members of cricket team B, let's do that in a different colour, was 42. Using a suitable calculation, write down one comparison between the number of runs scored by A and the number of runs scored by members of cricket team B. Well, clearly we need to work out the interquartile range of cricket team A. So we've got 11 people. So I'm going to take the middle one, which is that one, and that's the median. So the interquartile range is going to be the range from 4 to 34. So the interquartile range of A, interquartile range equals 30. Meanwhile, the B interquartile range equals 42. So this is what you have to do to get your marks. You have to say the interquartile range of A is less than the interquartile range of B, or the interquartile range of B is greater than the interquartile range of A. You just need to state something in terms of the interquartile ranges. And then you must say what that means. This means that the members of Team A were more consistent in their run scoring than the members of Team B. Or this means that the range of Team B was greater than the range of Team A, or the variation of the runs for Team A was greater. The variation of the runs for Team B was greater than the variation of the runs for Team A. You must say something about what it means in the real world. Interquartile range, right. You know how range is the difference between the highest and the lowest? I'm hoping you're going to type yes there. The range is the difference between 72 and 2, so the range is 70 there. The interquartile range is the range between the number which is a quarter of the way in from the back, from the front, and the number which is a quarter of the way in from the end. So it's the range between the 4 and the 34. Okay? So the interquartile range is 34 minus 4, which is 30. Let's just go through that again. So the range is the difference between the biggest and the smallest. Yes, we know that. We want the interquartile range, so we need to find the number which is a quarter of the way from the start and the number which is a quarter of a way from the end. So we find the middle one, and then we take each half of the numbers, and we find the middle one of that, 4. So now I'm going to take this upper half and find the middle one, 34. And so the interquartile range is the difference between the 4 and the 34, whereas the whole range was the difference between the 2 and the 72. Okay, so I hope that's all right. I'm afraid that's a kind of introduction for you, but if they give you 11 numbers in a row, you'll be all right. How do you use mid-mad? We're finding the mean here, and we've got grouped data. Okay, we've got grouped data. So these 4 frames here, which are between 30 and 36, we don't know what they are, right? They could be 31, 32, 33, 34. Who knows what they are? So we assume that they are all 33, because that's the midpoint of 30 to 36. So when we do mid-mad, the first thing we do is we find the midpoint of each of the groups. Okay? There you go, I'm just doing it quickly here. So the midpoint, then you multiply 33 times 4, 39 times 14, and you get your answers here. 45 times 18, 51 times 19, 57 times 5, that's the multiplying. Now we're going to add up those numbers. Okay, I forget what it was that it came to. And then you get the total there, and you divide it by the number of bikes, which was 60. So mid-mad is a way of remembering what to do. All right, so I hope that's okay. Remembering what to do when you're finding the mean of grouped data. All right, we have got one more question to do, and it is here, question 27. That's okay, I hope you understood it. Right, question 27. 60 students at a mathematics exam. The mean mark for the 32 students in class A was 55, and the mean mark for the 28 students in class B was 52. Find the mean mark for all 60 students. Here we go, let's find the total for class A. 32 times 55. Let's find the total for class B. 28 times 52. So let's find the whole total. So 32 times 55, 1760. 28 times 52, 1456. So the total for all the 60 students is 1760 plus 1456. Which is 3216. So the mean mark for all the 60 students is 3216 divided by 60. And that is 53.6. Okay, that is the end of that paper. Now, of course, if there's a particular question you want to watch again, then you can just rewind the film and watch it as soon as it's ready to appear on YouTube. I'll stick it on. I think it goes on automatically. The other thing that you should really do before your exam tomorrow is, if you haven't watched my film on Dara's law or Dara's ticks, you really should watch it before your exam tomorrow, because it is quite possible for you to increase your score by as much as a grade by properly checking your work. So before I go, I'm just going to find the link for that film and stick it in the chat. Okay, so I'm going to stop share screen, and I'm just going to find the link to that film, and then I'll stick it in the chat. All right. And meanwhile, I hope that you found all that useful. And good luck tomorrow. Right, wait a minute, I just need to find this film. Here we are. Here we go. Share. Copy. Right, here comes the link. You must must watch this film, because it will help you to check your paper really carefully. Okay, right, that's it. I hope you found that useful. If there's anything I can do for you now, I'm afraid I can't because your exam's tomorrow. But once you have sat your paper, probably tomorrow evening my time, or as soon as I can, I will go through the paper 1, and then I'll make my predictions for paper 2, and I'll put those on the channel for you, along with a whole load of films which relate to the predicted topics. Okay? But for now, I think we should finish. Thanks very much for coming. Good luck tomorrow. And I'll stick a film on tomorrow morning as well, so you can tell me how it's gone for you tomorrow. Okay? See you later. Good luck tomorrow.